June 14th, 2017, and this video is called the Fukushima 50,000 Nuclear Martyrs. Now, the reason why I call it a nuclear martyr is because a large part of the population are basically risking their lives to save not only their country but the world. And the reason why I say that is a martyr, by definition, there are a bunch of nouns, but what I'm going to say is a person who willingly suffers death is what they're doing. It's a person who endures great suffering on behalf of a cause, and that cause is life. Just imagine those people who are trying to remedy an unsolvable puzzle over there at Fukushima. They're risking their lives knowing that they can't actually do anything about it. They're just preventing it from getting worse. Now, it's a person who constantly suffers, because that's what those people that are trying to fix Fukushima who work at TEPCO are doing. And that's why I call them a martyr. They truly are the nuclear martyrs saving our world. Now, the Fukushima 50,000, the first 50 was given by the media, the first group of employees at the crippled nuclear power plant. Now, this is the mess that they actually were trying to fix. These are just two of the reactors that basically melted down. This is what they had to go in to fix. Like I said, this is what they had to go in to fix. Now, the Fukushima 50, these 50 employees remained on site after more than almost 800 were evacuated after the series of fires at the plant's Unit 4 on March 15th. Now, it says 20 of these workers have been injured, including one exposed to large amounts of ionizing radiation when the worker tried to vent the valve. Now, this is just one group who was exposed to, it says over here, over 100 millisieverts. Okay, now, the true martyr is actually the nuclear engineer that was at the plant at the time. And I apologize for probably butchering this name. It's Masao Yoshida. He was the nuclear engineer manager at the time. And actually, this is the guy that played a critical role by disobeying corporate headquarters orders to stop using seawater to cool the reactors. He went against what they wanted him to do. So he is actually a hero, because he actually was working under his own knowledge of what he should have done, and that is awesome for him to have took the lead. Now, over here, the week of 2011, June 7th, TEPCO gave Yoshida a verbal reprimand for defying orders and not reporting it earlier. Now, eventually, Yoshida has died of esophageal cancer, which was determined by TEPCO to be unrelated to the nuclear accident due to the rapidness of the onset. He retired as plant manager in 2012, underwent an operation for cancer, and later suffered a non-fatal stroke. He died July 9th, 2013. He was 58 years old. He is the true hero, and even TEPCO says that he did not die as a result of the radiation exposure when he saved the world on the week of March 11th. Now, the exposure dose to the employees at Fukushima, this is how I get the Fukushima 50,000. Let's get this a little wider here. Now, as of February 2017, they have a list of dose ranges, but I'm more interested in how many employees. So there's TEPCO employees. There's a total of almost 1,200 employees in February of 2017 and close to 9,000 contractors. So it's close to basically 10,000 people are working at the plant in the month of February. Now, if you duplicate that over the years, it's probably about 50,000 people have gone through that are actually on paper. Now, that's another story about how they're using the homeless people to do a lot of the radiation pickup and cleanup.
The night is cold here in Sendai, far to the north of Tokyo. This station is the warmest place to sleep for people living rough. It's also a fertile recruiting ground. Brokers are selling homeless people like this to companies cleaning up radiation in Fukushima. Shizuya Nishiyama's been sleeping rough for a year, and he's twice been sent to scrub down radioactive hotspots.
We're an easy target for recruiters. We turn up here with all our bags, wheeling them around and around the station, and we're easy to spot. Then they say to us, "Are you looking for work? Are you hungry?"
Activists say homeless people are flocking here from across Japan to look for work in the tsunami-devastated north, but the safer jobs are now in short supply. Yasuhiro Aoki is the leader of this homeless support group. Many workers are reaching their radiation limits, he says, so there's a shortage, and the homeless are being used to fill in the gaps. There are no figures for the number of homeless people cleaning up Fukushima. Government rules don't require checks on the lowest tier of companies supplying workers. On the 11th floor of this apartment block lives one of Sendai's labour brokers, Seiji Sasa.
I don't ask any questions. That's not my job. I just find people and send them to work. I send them and get money in exchange. That's it. I don't get involved in what happens after that.
Back at Sendai Station, radiation is the last thing on Nishiyama's mind. He says he just wants to make it through the winter.
Here's the lens eyes. So actually, they're actually guinea pigs in a sense also, that they're being, data is being collected upon them on how these people, it's a very, I would say, I'll give them credit, it's a very meticulous operation where everything is being documented and there is a lot of work going on over there, but it's impossible for them to fix what's actually happening over there. So basically what we get out of this is there's close to 10,000 people working as of the month of 2017. Now, as the press release from TEPCO themselves, employees, this is the recruitment status, it's a press release of new employees for the year of 2014. Now, what I find interesting and sickening is they're actually taking graduates from high school. In 2014, they actually took in 214 graduates from high school. And now I don't know if they know exactly what they're getting into over there, but they're taking them from junior colleges, technical schools, and universities. So as a total of 2014, they got in 318 new employees. Now, press release 2015, they have a total of 717 So they practically doubled it from the year before. And they're coming from high school. 351 of them actually came from high school. Is that crazy? Almost half of them are coming from high school. Now this is 2016. And now they are up to 555 new employees hired. And they're still bringing them from high school. Large majority, 307. And then the press release, 2016, for the recruitment plan of 2017, instead of giving those detailed numbers, it looks like they're just giving one number in a box, and it's 320 new employees for 2000, and that's the plan for 2017. So they are hiring people every day, especially out of high school. Now, a Japanese court has begun a hearing case for a man who developed leukemia after working as a welder at the plant. The plaintiff was the first to be recognized by labor authorities as having an illness linked to cleanup work at the plant. He is suing the TEPCO Electric Power Company, which operates the complex. In 2015, of course, a health ministry panel ruled that the man's illness was workplace related, that he was not eligible for compensation. Now, this is why he's a martyr. The reason why he worked there is I worked there at Fukushima #1 plant because of my ardent desire to help bring the disaster under control, but I was treated as if I was a mere expendable laborer. That's his quote. Now, this is why he's a martyr, is because he did it for life and for mankind. Now, after the chaotic 2 years after his name became associated with nuclear disaster, the Fukushima Daiichi power plant resembled a field hospital, according to a man who is now in charge of the most daunting task of nuclear industry has ever faced, removing hundreds of tons of melted fuel from the plant's stricken reactors. Now it really does feel like the situation is settling down and we could look ahead, said Masudo, the head of decommissioning of the plant's operator. Full of crap. 5 years after the magnitude that killed the 19,000, the plant has been transformed from a scene of major disaster into a sprawling building site. Masadu can point out the lower radiation levels in and around the plant, better conditions for its 1,200 staff and 6,000 other employees. So they're admitting to over 7,000 workers that are working at the site. Now, the work, it says, but the work on removing the melted fuel, something no nuclear operator has ever attempted before, has barely begun. TEPCO admits for certain that, although they were slow to admit it, that the fuel in the 3 reactors actually did melt down. We have meltdowns due. That's a confirmation. Now, on this site, you could go into this live radiation animated map and check it out when you end up going to it. This is what you're going to get. The status 404 does not exist. Alright, just wanted to show you that. They're scrubbing all the data. And if you go into the Japanese Meteorological Agency, this is what I find ironic. You have all these little subtabs of everything you could think of. There's weather warnings,
landslides, marine warnings, tropical cyclones, tsunamis, earthquakes, there's volcanoes, eruptions, ash, daily forecasts, even hourly, 3-hourly forecasts, 1-week forecasts, marine forecasts, early warnings, seasonal forecasts, weather maps, analysis of precipitation, radar, high-resolution precipitation, dust observatories, UV indicators, satellite imagery, weather observation, weather analysis, airport weather, climate, oceanography, state of the ocean, atmospheric environment, oceanic carbon cycles, sea waves.
You have everything there, but there's absolutely nothing about radiation. This is kind of why Fukushima is kind of taboo, I bet you, in Japan. I would love to be a fly on the wall over there, because they're probably actually afraid to even mention it. Now, this is a translation from a notice of the 93rd General Meeting of Shareholders of TEPCO. So this is coming straight from their mouths over there. And where I'm getting at is if you come up in here and type cancer, Reasons for the proposal: in December, the thyroid cancer of an employee was certified as a work-related illness. The Fukushima power station accident has produced a succession of workers who have been exposed to radiation. While many of them are workers of cooperating companies, this is not to say that none of them are TEPCO employees. According to the data, there are many people who were exposed to large amounts of radiation, especially immediately after the incident. People working at Fukushima nuclear power station, where although decontamination has been progressing, 77,000 becquerels per hour of radioactive substances continued to be released from the buildings even as of February of this year, which is 2017, and in the working environment, in which remains areas where it's required for heavy equipment such as full face masks in addition to protective clothing. Now, what they are defending and trying to save is life itself. It's the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and the continual change preceding death. It's the origin of life is what those martyrs are trying to save. Now, this is what they're going up against. They put a robot in there that actually died. Look at this. It's sitting on top of where those fuel rods are at. And actually, look at this yellowing or whatever the heck is growing from this intense heat, or something is happening over there. This is what is happening at Fukushima right now. The highest radiation levels ever created. And I want to say it's almost like a bonfire in your backyard. Now, if you have a bonfire in your backyard, you know what happens to your neighbor. It ends up getting up that debris. Now, imagine Fukushima is a bonfire on the earth. It's creating incinerated debris that is going into the atmosphere. Fukushima is like an earth bonfire right now. Now, then you go to the numbers for Japan as of 2013. It's basically 2 years after the accident. Japanese birth rate plunges to record lows as death rate hits record highs. You think that's a coincidence? Now, if you go into search the TEPCO site and search corium, corium is in their papers. They refer to as units 1 and 3 fuel debris, corium. Now, corium, it's a lava-like mixture of portions of nuclear reactor core. It's formed during a nuclear meltdown. It's the most severe case of a nuclear reactor accident. Now, the clothing at the nuclear power plant, TEPCO has been incinerating radioactive contaminated clothes and other waste on the grounds of the Fukushima disaster nuclear power plant in an effort to reduce the volume of waste. They're incinerating it. A 3-story incineration facility has been built on the north side of the plant grounds. Every day, 7,000 people work at the plant, creating a massive amount of waste in the form of used radiation suits, gloves, and boots. Pre-disaster incineration equipment was destroyed by the 2011 earthquake, which led to the construction of the new facility. Now, as at the end of last year, now this is 2016, 70,000 metric tons of this kind of waste was being held in storage containers. 70,000. TEPCO estimates that by the year 2028, 358,000 tons of such waste will be produced, but claims that the number of volume of the waste to as little as 1/5 as its original size by incinerating it. Radioactive materials contained in the smoke from the incinerator will be removed by filters, they're saying, on the exhaust pipes. The resulting ash will be sealed in specialized barrels, and TEPCO says there will be little danger from radioactive exposure. However, in addition to the aforementioned waste, there, as of July last year, around 83,000 tons of lumber from trees cut down to make its way for tanks storing contaminated water, and 155,000 tons of other waste, such as power plant debris from the hydrogen explosion. Other kinds of waste are expected to grow to almost 700,000 tons by 2028 and will not be processed at the incineration facility. TEPCO plans to construct facilities to burn this lumber and to break them down in the future, but they're not expected to be operational until around 2020. Now this is, just keep this in mind, this is the conveyor belt of death. Now this is the ocean currents right now, and Fukushima is right here. Gallons of radioactive water a day are being tossed into the ocean right here, and it's being picked up by these ocean currents. Now follow these currents. They lead almost, look at, this is how fast they're going. Red, then yellow, then green, then blue. Look what they're going. This is the conveyor belt of death. Before they kind of slow down a little bit, but still end up going, it's halfway to Hawaii. Where does this eventually push? Pushes up against the west coast here, and this is exactly where it's coming from right now. And if you look at these little areas here, this is all still coming from the same place. All this water is eventually being pushed up against the west coast, and now dolphins are washing up ashore and the sea life is dying. Look at this right here. Kind of looks like a face. The grim face. So here it is, another 10,000 employees a month are grinding it out in the world's most nuclear contaminated environment. And now I can't even find the second camera. So there it goes, sitting for another 300 years while it contaminates and poisons the earth. The Fukushima 50,000 are the nuclear martyrs of our day, and I wish I could meet one of them just to thank them, because they're not only saving my butt, they're saving yours also.